Planning Committee on Tuesday, the 19th of November. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Biddulph Town Council YouTube page. The aim is that decision-making should be transparent and in the public domain, which will involve more of our community in local democracy. By being in this council chamber, you are consenting to be being recorded and for your image to be added to YouTube. The image and sound may be used for training purposes. Any views expressed are the speaker's own and do not necessarily reflect the view of Biddulph Town Council. Please go to the guidance on recording and public meetings policy if you need more information. Thank you. Start at the top of the agenda. Item 45, apologies and approval of any substitute members. Do we have any apologies?
Yep, Councillor Salt and Councillor Fletcher, and there are no substitute members.
And Councillor Smith's just on touch on this. She's on her way home from work. She'll be here for the next meeting, but not for
Thank you very much, Councillor Jackson.
Oh yeah, Councillor Parks. I thought he put
I think Councillor Parks is on this committee. I don't think, I could be wrong, but I'd be wrong. Okay, so that's no problem.
Got apologies for the next.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, right. So declarations of interest. Do we have any disclosable pecuniary interest and dispensations regarding anything on the agenda this evening? If we come to any planning applications and you realise that you do have, please let me know for other interest. Do we have other interest? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to minutes. To approve the minutes of the planning committee meeting held on Tuesday, the 15th of October 2024. These have been through town council. So do I need to go through all the details or are we happy to?
Okay.
Thank you. Seconded. All in favour? Thank you very much. Just give me a moment to proceed. The date. Thank you. Fourth. Right, thank you very much. Okay, right. Okay, moving on to item 48, standing agenda item. Consider any proposed sites for local listing.
No, I think we mentioned this last time. We'll revisit it in the new year. There'll be hopefully by then a new conservation officer with the planning department. So there isn't anyone to work on that.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. So moving on to new planning applications. You should have received the latest update with the late application for planning applications. So starting with SMD 2024-0436, Mr. F. Calcott's Moorlands Self Drive, Unit 2, Childerplay Road, Knipersley. This is a proposed extension to the existing workshop unit to create 2 additional vehicle maintenance bays. The site is an existing workshop and service yard adjacent to the vehicle hire business. So it's the further down the road of the 2 Moorlands Self Drive compounds. It's the construction of a Class B2 general industrial building of approximately 100 metres square, an extension to the existing 115 metre square workshop. So it's almost as big again to create additional maintenance bays, increasing the employment on the site to 5 to 7 full-time equivalent employees. The materials are going to be brick and metal cladding with a metal cladding roof, PVC aluminium doors and windows, all to match the existing building. The design matches the existing mill, so and there are no changes to the site access planned. There has been a coal mining risk assessment carried out, and there's a report. The report was attached. The Coal Authority had no objections. In the context of the neighbourhood plan, it falls in the neighbourhood plan area. It would comply with enterprise and tourism development in terms of enterprise. It's giving us additional employment in the town. It specifically specifies sustainable drainage, and the design is compliant with the existing design, and there are no issues in terms of car parking and movement, retaining the same number of car parking spaces. It is, however, in the green belt. It isn't applicable for BNG. There's a temporary exemption for non-major developments on this case. The recommendation would be to approve with the condition that it's not contravening any green belt restrictions. Yes.
Basically, Highways has also made some recommendations with respect to the parking. So
the conditions that we put on were also those that have been recommended by highways.
Yes, okay.
And also, on you got down as refer to neighbourhood plan working group, yes. And sort of you got them all down as yes in the policies, and I thought it was only when it was a no that they were going to be referred.
What we said, I think, is that if the neighbourhood plan policies were, if it involved in neighbourhood plan policies, we would refer it to, but we were going to raise it at district if there were any neighbourhood plan policies that it contravened. So if we had any no's, then we'd raise it at district. I'm happy to not refer it.
I mean, I'm just sort of thinking we don't want to be, if they're complying with the neighbourhood plan, then to be honest, I can't see any point in sending it to them.
Happy to do that.
Yeah.
So the recommendation to approve subject to not contravening and any greenbelt issues and complying with the highways.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Councillor Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm surprised it's in the green belt. It's a very tenuous green belt.
It's-
That is.
It's
You wave your hand up. I'm sure it is within the green belt, but I mean, the stuff that's already there must have been built on green belt. It's hardcored over. It's all.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, as far as I'm,
At that point,
yeah, I understand that, yes.
point out the concern I was going to make was it's right behind that care home. As long as the new building doesn't impose a legitimate planning imposition on that care home. I mean, I don't know how big this building's going to be, whether it's going to get wide or. I'd say any valid planning concerns from, I think it's Malay's care on that one. I'm not sure.
I think Mill Hayes is on the other side of the road. I think it's the one. Yeah.
I forget what that one's called then.
One that
But you
used,
know where I mean.
it's the one that used to be the squash club.
It used to be Gordon Bass.
Yeah.
So I think I just pop that one in.
Just to put it in context, the new building is going between the existing building and the Moorlands Self Drive, so it's extending that way. It's the same height and essentially the same width again.
Problem then, should it? But
I shouldn't have.
we should.
Again, happy to add that if everyone's happy to add that. So we've basically got, the reason I'm suggesting recommending approval is because it's basically a positive benefit to the town in terms of additional employment rather than no adverse comments. Yep.
Don't dispute it.
Okay, so essentially with the conditions of not contributing greenbelt, which we think is unlikely because there's already buildings there, that it complies with highways recommendations, and there are no valid neighbours planning concerns. Are we all happy with that? Okay, right. Did you want to speak? Yes.
Just clarify the point on Greenbelt. Greenbelt has nothing to do with the quality or the aesthetics of the land. It's an aureole of protection around one major urban area to stop encroachment to another urban area. It can be the ugliest land in the world. It can be the most derelict and decrepit land in the world. It just as a barrier to stopping encroaching development during two urban areas up.
The key character
Yes.
of Greenbelt land is
Openness, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in the context of this, it's certainly not
Might not
because it's
necessarily.
constrained. It's constrained.
No, I didn't know that. I'm surprised it was.
I know.
If green.
if we can-
Which gives the state of the ground around there.
All right.
Right, thank you, gentlemen. I think, yep. Essentially, it
Something grey belt, this is it.
Absolutely.
would remind you actually that the dye works is also a green belt technically. Yep. Anyway, right. So are we happy with that as a proposal? Yes. Well, I think I'm proposing it as from the chair. Councillor Hall, you were seconding it. And we have a show of hands, please. Thank you. Right. Moving on, SMD 2024-0483. Mr. Richard Bailey for John Bailey and Sons, Greenway Bank Farm, Greenway Bank Biddulph. It's the proposed erection of a slurry tower at Greenway Bank Farm to provide sufficient storage of the slurry produced for the farm on a 6-month period. Essentially, there was no pre-application advice. It's the erection of a 1,617 meter cubed. You can envisage that in your heads. Slurry tank with a temporary access road that will only be used for the construction purposes and therefore returned back to its original state following the construction. The application states that BNG is not required. However, reading the reports and the subsequent reports after that, it appears that it actually is required. There is no exemption for this. And the recommendation is for planting 14 small trees on the site to address BNG. It is in the green belt. Essentially, they're going to be a concrete base with a standard design circular slurry store with a green cover designed to reduce ammonia pollution. The access road, as I say, is temporary for construction purposes only, will be reinstated after construction is complete. There are numerous BNG supporting documents stating that the biodiversity of the site is incredibly poor, nothing of value, but BNG is required, hence the 14 small trees. It is actually outside the Biddulph Neighbourhood Plan boundary, just. Yeah, it runs to the north of it, So therefore, you know, effectively the Neighbourhood Plan policies that would not apply. So again, the purpose is that the current slurry tank isn't big enough to provide for the whole year's for the 6 months production, and therefore they're adding for an additional one. Right.
I just ask,
Councillor Proudlove.
the neighbourhood plan area, the neighbourhood area, is the whole of the parish, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if this application is not within the neighbourhood plan area, it's not within the parish, shouldn't be here before us.
That thought did cross my mind now, and I don't know, it may well be that the neighbourhood plan boundary as shown on the interactive plat map is incorrect.
Bit of information.
Yes, councillor Hawley.
Yeah, basically, if you got a plan from an adjoining parish, which is bordering on our parish, and it will be submitted to us for basically for knowledge, for information, and for us to make any recommendations in case it does affect us. So basically, yeah, because I saw that and I thought, what's it? And then I looked, and it's actually Brown Edge. Broadswick Parish Council. So, yeah, I mean, it just comes to us basically to make for information.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that information, councillor Hawley. Councillor Yates.
Yes, this application is really to upgrade facilities, so it complies with the nitrate vulnerable zone regulations. Because there is a risk, if farms are deemed not to comply with that, there is a risk or surface, effectively the equivalent surface water runoff, but with slurry, which tends to contaminate water sources with excess fertilizer effectively, and that's one of the causes of algal blooms and the deoxygenation of our rivers and streams, so to speak. So what this does, this controls that by actually being able to store it and then able to employ it in a controlled on the farm, not off the farm. So it is something which we will start seeing a lot more of, to be honest.
Thank you very much, councillor Yates. I've got councillor Jackson and then councillor Hopkins. Yeah, I'm sorry, I keep wanting to call you Hopcroft because of Councillor Hopcroft at District, councillor Hopkins. So councillor Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember a case a number of years ago where a slurry tank had been opened or a valve had been opened. Well, the farmer said a valve had been opened by one of the cows, so make sure. That's true.
Cow-proof valves.
We make the valves cow-proof because where that farm is situated is right above the milk pool and that water course. So a massive leakage of slurry from that tank would cause a lot of devastation down that water course.
Okay, so right, okay, so there's a potential another condition to come in there, effective control to prevent.
We'll see the manifest when he reads it, a cow-proof valve.
Effective safety controls to prevent accidental spillage.
So bad.
Okay, right.
Stick your bandage finger up.
Right. Councillor Jones, councillor Hopkins.
Just wanted to say that it's timed, isn't it? So the slurry is released in the dry season, supposedly. So it isn't put on wet land. That's like 6 months. It's timed, isn't it? From the 1st of October to, when is it? April, something like that.
Right. Thank you. Councillor Jones.
Chair, the comment is just made, that's moving away from planning issues.
I think it probably is. Thank you, councillor Jones. Right, okay, so if it's actually outside our district, and this is just coming back to your point of information, this is just for our information rather than for us to make a recommendation or decision on.
We can make a recommendation because potentially if it borders on us, it can affect.
Okay, because
so we can make a recommendation
because the spillage potentially would be into our our parish, right, okay, thank you. Right, so.
There we go. Well,
Can we,
we've got it on here.
oh, yeah, yeah, it's, right,
Just got it up here.
okay, we're just gonna have a quick peek of it,
It goes through the middle of the reservoir.
the boundary, yeah.
Yeah.
So and he's on the other side of the boundary of that. Right, we just to clarify there we go, okay. So that, the dark green line is the neighbourhood plan boundary,
Well, that's the parish boundary.
parish boundary, and that's the neighbourhood plan
The red
boundary
one's
as,
the second boundary.
as shown.
That one is the parish boundary. So it goes, the kind of darker green is the reservoir at the bottom. The little red blob, I can zoom in a bit if you.
Oh, I see, yeah.
That's his plan,
That's that.
that's the planning site, okay? Right, so the recommendation on this was for approval, because I think really it's required for legislation, subject to not contravening Greenbelt. The BNG the BNG proposals are implemented, and it has an effective safety control to prevent accidental spillage.
Put a big barrier around it.
It should be bunded. Actually, the design doesn't show it being bunded. Okay, so are we all happy with that? Can I have a seconder for that proposal? Councillor Hawley, show of hands, please. Thank you. And again, as I say, it hasn't been referred to, this one hasn't been referred to the working group because it's outside them. Okay, moving on to SMD 2024-0505. This is Mr. Paul Swift, 19 Trent Grove, Biddle, for single-storey side extension, including internal and external alterations to create an improved access. Yes.
Need to declare an interest in this one. Sorry, I didn't see the supplementaries. But I know the guys quite well.
How's this?
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so I want to speak.
Okay. Right. Okay. So, because I dropped onto number 50 because it wasn't on the original minutes. Yes.
Could we just bring it up, so I might have to declare.
Yep. Okay.
Like,
Problem.
Can you give us the?
I'm not sure which side.
This is the van, isn't it? This is
0505. Yeah. Okay. Right. So I'll carry on talking while it gets pulled up onto the screen. So it's a single-storey side extension to to add a ground floor bedroom and wet room. It's a good-sized corner plot at the end of a terrace. So with the plans retaining a narrow non-vehicular access to the back garden, there are no windows on the neighbour's elevation. Materials are walls are facing brick, roof is concrete tiles, windows are UPVC, doors are UPVC, and all materials on the extension will match the existing. Okay, right. Which one do you want? Site, either probably location plan or
Left-hand corner as you go in, Kev.
right in the top corner.
It's on the other side.
Okay, right. Okay, so the plans, so basically, in terms of the design and access, so there was no pre-application advice. It's not in the green belt, and BNG doesn't apply. The plans are submitted. There is the vehicular access, current vehicular access to the back garden is being removed. Back garden parking is being removed. With 2 parking spaces are explicitly stated as being retained in front of the property. That's similar to the adjacent and attached properties, that amount of parking. There were no supporting statements applied. The only neighbourhood plan policies that apply are design and public realm car parking. The design is standard design. So it complies. The parking, I believe, complies because they've actually allocated specifically 2 parking spaces at the front to replace the parking space, the driveway site at the side. However, just as a note, on the illustration on Google, you see a very large caravan parked or significantly caravan parked on that space at the side. That may be relevant. I'm not sure.
I won't vote or speak, but
Yeah.
just as a point of information, that caravan was sold about 6 months ago.
Thank you. That clarified. In that case, it does comply with car parking because it is specifying a parking at the front on the site. So recommendation was no adverse comments. We may want to put in a subject to no neighbours of valid planning concerns, but Councillor Hawley.
Basically the same as on the first one, that you've got yeses for the neighbourhood plan policies, but you want to refer it to the group again. So
That'll be common through them all, because I've just defaulted.
as I say, what I'm looking at is I don't want the group to be overwhelmed with.
Okay, so henceforth, only if there's any no's will we refer it. Okay. I'll remember to do that next time. Okay, right. So are we all happy with no adverse comments, or do we want to add a subject to? Okay, fine. Can I have a second to that? Thank you, councillor Yates, and a show of hands. Please note that councillor Jones abstained from the vote. On to the second. This is the very, very late planning application. You will only have received this earlier today. I apologise for that. It didn't arrive with me until late yesterday afternoon. I don't think it came straight to me from Ange, so there we go. Right, okay, so this is SMD 2024-0514. Ms Ruby Willock, 11 Cambridge Close, Biddulph. It's a proposed development of a single story side extension. There was no pre-application device. It's not advice. It's not in the green belt, and BNG doesn't apply because it's a householder application. It's a single story side extension to the ground floor of a semi-detached property, demolishing an existing garage to add a dining leisure room with open plan kitchen and creating an additional downstairs toilet. It's an end of cul-de-sac corner plot. Materials, walls, red facing brick and concrete roof tiles to match the existing materials. There's no details on the application of the windows or door treatments, but on the plan they appear to be specified as being high thermal efficiency UPVC. I've got a concern on this one. The plans are submitted, the vehicular access to the side garage and parking are removed, but there's no details of any additional driveway parking, although one of the documents, the site plan, does indicate 2 parking spaces retained at the front of the property. I think the front of the property is actually quite small for getting 2 vehicles on it. If they do specify 2 parking spaces at the front, they are again similar in number to the adjacent and attached properties. My only concern here is that while it complies with design, if there isn't adequate parking, it won't comply with DES 2 public realm car parking and movement. Councillor Hawley.
What's the difference between this and the last one? Because basically with the last one, he actually cut out his garage by putting the extension on the side. Therefore, he was losing his parking. And with this one, he's basically he's getting rid of his garage, and but he's still retaining the 2 at the front. And effectively, as far as I can see, there's no difference.
You're very, 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 very astute on this one. However, on the first one, it explicitly showed on the plans 2 parking spaces retained. On this one, it doesn't actually say that anywhere other than, but on this diagram here, it shows you 2 spaces marked, but there's nowhere on the plans that have been submitted does it give that detail. So all I was going to say was to approve it with the conditions that there is additional parking to compensate for the loss of the garage and the driveway, to explicitly say that they need to do that to comply with DES 2. The other one said that and therefore was compliant, because the caravan, which was my concern, because where they were going to put that isn't there anymore. So that's just a suggestion from the information that's been presented to us. So I've got councillor Yates and then councillor Jones.
Yes, I can imagine, I mean, you sort of second guessing here, the residents, I can imagine they are sensitive to the fact that they need parking, and I'm just got it up on Google Maps. There is a green area at the side.
Yes.
Which I would expect that in the fullness of time, if not as part of this development, they will be looking to actually allow the cars, instead of driving down the side, will actually go straight in and park there, to be perfectly honest.
I too would expect that. However, nothing explicitly stated, and I would like that.
It isn't in there, but whether as a condition you put on that provision is made for off-street parking within the space, and it meets with sustainable drainage. There are a couple of trees there, which would be unfortunate if they went missing, but there is scope for replacing the parking without any real detriment.
Absolutely. That's why I think it would be, I'm recommending that we put that in as a condition. Councillor Jones.
It's basically what Councillor Yates has just said. I was going to say, but I'd just add, I mean, who parks the car in a garage these days? I know I do, but very few.
All three of them.
The garage has been nothing but full of junk anyway, so the car's been parked on the front anyway. So I'll just make it, I know it's slightly obtuse, but
Yes.
it's I never understood why people fill the garage with junk, park £50,000 car on the road, but that's what people do.
That is what people do. So, does anybody have, right, President, the proposal is that we approve it with the condition that additional parking space to compensate for the loss of the driveway in the garage with sustainable drainage is included in the development. Are we happy with that?
Yes.
Okay, so if I propose that, you seconding that, councillor Yates, as it was your suggestion for the sustainable drainage? Can I have a show of hands for those that are in favour? Okay, thank you. And again, this is not, now this is going to be referred to the neighbourhood planning because it's got a non-compliant feature that we want to police.
I mean, the thing is, what we've said is if they potentially complying with that, then it doesn't have to be referred because it then does actually comply.
Yes. But at this moment in time, the plans as they're submitted don't comply.
Yeah.
If they do comply, then it becomes a moot point.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Thank you. If you're happy with that. Right. Moving on. Right. So moving on to item 51, new decision that's received from the district council. So, right. Looking through them, do we have anywhere we've recommended refusal? No adverse comments. No neighbour valid concern, approved. No adverse comments, but it was refused. This was SMD 2024-0376, excavation work to form timber retaining walls, and a raised patio area, retrospective extension of existing drop curb. This has been refused. Be interesting to see if they go and tell them to make things different, make things right. Other than that, everything else complies with our original recommendation. Okay. Yes, Councillor Ridley.
This is only around the corner from me.
Yep.
It's strange, I can't understand. Actually looks like a really nice job. You look at some of the messes that are down that road, this one looks really nice. This one's been refused, because I don't understand all the different regulations. See, it's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, I think to an extent, I think that's very much of a subjective judgment, and I think we've found in the past that even within this committee we have very different views on what is beautiful and what is not. I think simply the statement is that its development has harmed and further eroded the character and appearance of the area and the distinctiveness of the locality. I will await with interest the outcome of the refusal.
Do you want to just note that?
Oh, sorry, yes, aha, right, okay. Is that at the bottom? Is that the last one? All right, yes, and as the Chief Officer just pointed out, just to note for you all that SMD 2024-0401, the Cemetery Congleton Road, that is the Town Council's application for the construction of the Garden of Remembrance area. As you can see, it was approved by the planning, as a delegated decision. Yes, Councillor Hawley.
Yeah, just going back to 0376, but it's nice to see that in their comment, they effectively have it's in conflict to policies within the neighbourhood plan. So they have actually looked at it. Yeah. Yes. The other thing that I say, we want a wrist smacking because basically we let it through and it was in conflict with our policy.
This is true. I don't know which meeting that went.
Pose another one there.
I don't know which meeting this went through at. I don't remember it personally, and therefore I'm going to deny all knowledge. I have no recollection of that, to quote a well-known American politician. Yeah. But yes, interesting that in that case, perhaps do we need to refer this back to the implementation group to follow its progress?
Well, I mean, it could be an approach to sort of. I mean, the thing is, obviously, we as a committee missed it, and effectively, good thing was obviously Staffordshire Moorlands are actually doing the job, and they didn't. So.
Probably as a result of being prompted by the chief officer, they should be considering.
Yeah.
Can I, in that case, can I suggest that we do refer that back to the implementation team to perhaps examine what was missed?
Have a look at
I
it.
think I was at that meeting, Chair, that's probably
I
right.
chaired that one.
There you go.
I
What
definitely,
can I say? Right, okay, so we'll refer that back. Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention, Councillor Morley.
Chair.
Moving on,
Time like.
item 52,
Yeah, mate.
appeals. Item 52, appeals, of which I believe there are none. Therefore, I now declare the meeting closed at 6 o'clock. Precisely, I believe.
3 minutes.
thank you, Chair.
1800 according to my computer. There we go. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on Facebook, YouTube, or whatever.